Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the KFS Postgame Show. Filling in the middle of the night for the great John Macri. My name is Andrew Claudio, aka GMAC. Joining me to recap this game that the Knicks just played against the Portland Trail Blazers, Mr. More Like Mensa. Mensa, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Yeah, always good to watch a win. We had some news in Knicks land that wasn't too pleasant before the game, but hey, the New York Knicks won today, first game on the road trip, and yeah, I'm in a good mood. So let's talk about it.
We will talk about it, and you hinted at it, and this is the appropriate place to start. Once a Nick, always a Nick, right? And when the news came out about RJ Barrett's brother, I'm sure it hit a lot of us at our core. I'm someone with a little brother. I texted him immediately, just seeing that. For those who missed it, RJ Barrett's younger brother Nathan had passed away, 20 years old of an undisclosed illness. You can only imagine the heartbreak that the Barrett family is going through right now. And we send, on behalf of Knicks Nation, our condolences to him. And I know he's your guy too, RJ, and Mensa. And I know you're the one that honestly that notified me of this. You hit up the chat and told us about this. So I want to give you the floor for a minute if you'd like.
Yeah, even if RJ Barrett didn't mean anything to me as a player, even if RJ Barrett was never a Knick, Um, death in the family is terrible. It's not something that I wish on anybody. Obviously, it hit close to home for a guy like me because RJ Barrett, it was my favorite New York Knick from the time he stepped on the court. I just appreciated everything that he brought to the franchise. I am the youngest of two, so I can't imagine what my parents would have had to go through if they lost me. I can't imagine what RJ Barrett's family is going through at the moment. It's just to lose a child that young, 20 years old, to an untimely, just everything about that is untimely. Sad, very sad. And I really wish that I had the words for him. I know recently, relatively recently in my own personal family, I know we suffered a loss, and the best thing that anybody ever told me in the time when I was grieving was, I don't have the words, but I'm there for you. Just because, like, there's nothing you can really say to somebody that's going to bring back their loved one. There's nothing you can say that's going to make them feel any better about what they're going through. All you can really do is avail yourself and just be human in these moments. And I think that it's sad when we're reminded how human the game of basketball is by tragedy, when that has to be our reminder. But today is a reminder that, even though we do root for the front of the jerseys, the names on the back of the jerseys are real and they go through real things. So just sending out my own prayers, my own condolences, and just hoping that they find clarity, they find peace in these moments, and that more than anything else, that they would stick together as a family, and that a loss like this, because tragedy inevitably changes us, but we do have a choice as humans to decide how tragedy changes us. So I hope that for them, this tragedy can be the start of something beautiful, whether it be the family getting closer or anything, man. But I hope that they find some peace and some positivity in these moments.
You mentioned you're the youngest of two, and I hinted at the top, I'm the oldest of two. And my brother and I are 12 years apart, so I have a hint in like raising him and being the older brother. That connection, I can only imagine what RJ's going through right now. And to your point, can't even really fathom what his parents are going through at the moment. And so, you hope through tragedy that you find peace. And you mentioned your family going through something. Obviously, I mentioned during the playoffs last year going through something myself. um my hope is that he feels the love from his basketball family, both in Toronto and in New York, and that the things that like don't matter, like this distraction of a game we just watched, that he's able to find some peace and comfort in this sport that we enjoy. So our condolences to the Barrett family as they navigate these next few, the future. So with all that said, there was a basketball game played tonight, Mensa. And the New York Knicks defeated the Portland Trailblazers 105-93. Jaylen Brunson had 45 points, and it wasn't anything to get all excited about and come out here and say he's him and talk about how we love Jaylen Brunson. We do. But I got to say, Mensa, the number one story from this game, as far as I'm concerned, is I really hope OG Anunoby's elbow is okay. It's weird to talk about a game in which Brunson had 45, Josh Hart had another 15 rebounds. The Knicks, had pretty much a command of this game from the second quarter on. They led by at least 9 for the entirety of the second, third, and fourth quarter. Led by 22 at one point. Portland made a run, and the Knicks helped in that run, and the fact they went 6-29 from 3. But I'm going to go ahead and say that the number one story for me, and I don't know how you experienced this game, midway through the second quarter, OG Anunoby goes for a steal and lets out a large yelp and then goes to the bench on the next possession, and it became OG watch for the rest of the game. How did you experience it the same way, that it was like, all right, I obviously hope the Knicks win this game, but it doesn't matter if OG Anunoby's not okay. He came back in and played the rest of the game for those that didn't watch it. But how did you experience the OG Anunoby experience tonight?
So for me personally, OG Anunoby is the second most important player on the New York Knicks. What he gives you in terms of his value is indispensable as a highway 2-level wing. And when I say high level, he is maybe the most impactful wing defender in basketball. And to watch him on our team has been nothing but pleasure. So to see him go get hurt the way he got hurt in the second quarter was not fun at all. Very happy and very encouraged that he still ended up playing 36 minutes. Gotta love that Tom Tibido.
Listen,
it works.
They're kind of needed tonight. I gotta be honest, they were kind of needed tonight.
I'm beyond Tibbs criticism at the moment, because you just can't. The job he's done this season has been nothing short of excellent, but you just can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Sometimes they're goods and they're bad. Would have liked to see OG Anunoby get less minutes, but hey, first game of a road trip, 36 minutes. He had 9 rebounds, 12 points, 2 steals, 4 personal fouls, which is unlike him. Long story short, I was not happy to see him get hurt, but I'm encouraged that he was able to finish the game and play 36 minutes. And I'm trying not to focus. The guy played. He finished the game. I'm trying not to focus on anything. I'm trying not to be negative about it. Very happy to see that he was able to get out there and finish the game, and that's kind of where I'll leave it. I don't want to get too far into the what ifs. Like, well, let's let the medical report be the medical report tomorrow.
I also think we've seen it. If he wasn't okay, he wouldn't have been allowed to go back to the hands of Mr. Tibido. Now, I will say, you want to talk about Tibbs tonight, the actual thing I want to give him credit for is the adjustment of we have the Portland pivot, right? For those who don't know, in our KFS faculty chat, we have something called a Portland pivot. And it's when a team that is around like the middle of the top 10 in the lottery decides at a certain point in the season that nobody important is going to play the rest of the year, and they're going to try and lose as much as possible, which is what the Portland Trailblazers have done the last 2 seasons. It's called the Portland pivot. I think what Tibbs did tonight was the Piston pivot, in that he decided, I'm not playing these guys anymore that we got from Detroit. And Alec Burks played a whopping 4 minutes in this game. We saw a lot of Deuce McBride at the 2. There's a world where he's your backup point guard and your backup 2 guard for a little bit. He had Deuce in there with the Villanova boys for a little bit, which means he was in there instead of Bogdanovich as well. I looked up at halftime. He had 15 minutes by himself. The Detroit boys had 12 all by themselves combined. So recognizing what this game needed was, I thought, a good adjustment by him, especially when the guys that were here for shooting decided they were going to not shoot well tonight. Bogdanovich 1 for 6. Alec Burks 2 of 5. That feels like a revelation, but he was a -1 in the game. The Knicks won by 12 points. I thought that was a good adjustment. I do think now is the time we can at least mention Jaylen Brunson had 45 points on 30 shots. I thought he had to earn all 45 of them, 15 of 17 at the line, 2 of 10 from 3. So this wasn't a night that he just got hot and just kind of scorched the other team. I thought he scored 45 of their 105 points. The rest of the team scored 60. But to your point earlier, OG Anunoby may be the second most impactful, most important Knick on the team. Where would we be without Jaylen Brunson?
We would be in the projects.
Yes.
That is the only answer to that question. Jaylen Brunson, 45 points on 14 to 30 shooting, 2 from 10 from 3, 15 of 17 from the free throw line. 5 turnovers, not exactly what you want, but you deal with it when a guy scores 45 points. And I believe, him and Hartenstein tied for a team high plus 17 in a game that we won by 12 points. So Jaylen Brunson was absolutely necessary tonight. You don't want him to be necessary against the Portland Pivots, but hey, it's a road trip. It's the first game of 4. Hopefully the team can gel and get better. This is just more evidence to the truth that we need one Julius Randle back, because on a night like tonight, Jaylen Brunson wouldn't need to carry you with 45 points because you'd have a 25 and 9 from Julius Randle. It was really fun to watch OG Anunoby and Josh Hart start the first game together against Philadelphia. And it kind of started to creep into my mind, hey, maybe this team might be okay. And then you get a game like tonight, which is a dose of reality that the New York Knicks, while Jaylen Brunson is excellent and we should continue to give him his flowers, we want Jaylen Brunson to remain excellent. We want him to remain healthy. We need Julius Randle back as soon as possible. Julius, please get back as soon as you can. And with that being said, Josh Hart again, 42 minutes. So that would make 10 out of the last 11 games. Josh Hart has logged at least 40 minutes, and he has been essential pretty much in all 11 games. I don't think we can truly appreciate how great Josh Hart has been for the Knicks, because he doesn't do it he does it in tangible ways when you watch the game, right? But you look at a stat sheet, you see a guy that has 7 points, 15 rebounds, 2 assists, 6'4" guard, 6'5" guard, and he's just playing great basketball, man. And I can't really imagine logging the minutes that nobody does it anymore. This in a league where load management has become a thing. What Josh Hart has been able to do for the New York Knicks, and this is a guy who's not even supposed to be a starter for this team, who's coming in and is giving you 40, 40, 40, 40, 40. Just it's insane. It really is insane. And while Jaylen Brunson deserves all of the flowers, and while Isaiah Hartenstein and OG Anunoby and Dante DiVincenzo and all of these other guys who have been major stories, Josh Hart, who started off much maligned to begin the season, has made himself indispensable to the New York Knicks. And while we don't really value it too crazy, because when the team is at its healthiest, he's not going to be getting 40 plus minutes a night. You can't say enough about this 82-game marathon and what he has meant to this team while dealing with his own knee injury, right? That we heard about earlier in the season. He's just kind of been able to suck it up and be awesome for the Knicks. So just want to give Josh Hart his flowers every chance I can at this point, because 42 minutes, 40 minutes in 10 of the last 11 games. And the reason why he didn't get reason why it's not 11 straight, because he played 39. This he's unreal. He's unreal. And I just wanted to give him his love.
And it's the one game that he probably wanted to stay out so he can get another rebound as well. Any issues or fear you might have had? Like, we thought that they would go to, or at least I thought that Tibbs was going to swap Anunoby for Hart in the starting 5 and leave Precious out there. And I think he surprised a lot of people by going to this starting 5 that he's gone to. And it's because you don't lose anything on the glass with Josh Hart. In fact, you just gain shooting by swapping out Anunoby for Precious. And it's why I think you've seen what the Knicks have been able to do. They're starting 5 again tonight. Just looking at their plus minuses, Anunoby plus 11, Hartenstein plus 17, Jaylen Brunson plus 17. Funny enough, Mensa, Deuce McBride plus 13, Josh Hart only plus 1 tonight. Now, part of that is because he played some of the backup minutes with the Detroit version of the Knicks. I think Bogey is pressing. I think that is very clear. There's some possessions where he is hesitating to shoot, where he's like letting the shot clock run down and then throwing grenades to somebody to like the one he threw to Precious tonight was just it was just a masterclass of, I'm not going to be in the rotation much longer if I don't clean it up. So he's at least, it's funny. He at least has two or three games where he shot the ball as expected, which is why he's going to get a little more grace. Alec Burks is getting 4 or 5 first half minutes and then not playing the second half. That just seems to be the writing's on the wall as far as he's concerned. Before we get to the super chats, any thought on the Detroit duo and where this is headed for the next rotation?
I don't know what happened to Alec Burks.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. He was not this bad in Detroit, comes to New York. And what is an ideal situation for him, coming off the bench, coming up against second units, being able to hit threes. I think honestly, I think a lot of his issue is a lot of his game has come off the dribble in New York, and that's just not his strength anymore. He's really more of a spot up guy. Shout out to XJ for pointing that out. Alec Burks is like a first percentile finisher at the basket, and you can see it as he's pressing. So I don't know, maybe if he they continue to give him 4 to 5 minutes until he figures this shit out, but it seems like that's all he is worth at the moment, and that may be too much. Bojan Bogdanovic, I think that when he's on the team, when everybody is healthy, you will see his value a little bit more. But right now, it does feel like he's pressing. I remember in the first quarter, he had a clear line to the basket, and I thought he was going to dunk, and it turned out to be a layup. I'm like, yep, that's the bogey I know. So yeah, I'm a little less worried about Bojan Bogdanovic because I think the shooting will translate. He's just not in a situation where I guess the best of his skills are being used. But yeah, he has become. People are calling him, I think, Forgjanovic or whatever it is. But it's been earned. We need the Detroit Knicks to not be which is weird because they're not even the Detroit selves. Like I can't figure it out. Mm-hmm. They're just not gelling and they're not coalescing with the team. So hey, maybe they just need to be on 14 and 4 minutes a night respectively until they figure it out. And I'm happy to give it to them because this team does need, a panacea until Julius gets back. So hopefully they figure it out. But right now it's not looking very good. And time is running out on them because next thing you know, we'll be in the playoffs and we cannot have their abysmal minutes in the playoffs. They have to be better.
So I will say you don't wish ill will on guys that used to play for the Knicks. But Quinton Grimes went 3 of 4 from 3 in that fourth quarter against the Knicks. He has made 4 threes since going to the Detroit Pistons. It's either 4 threes or 5 threes. I believe he's 4 of 29 from 3 since going to the Pistons. He's shooting, like his effective field goal percentage is .262. You want to talk about Brooklyn High School's Mensa.
Yep.
Like, he's having a rough stretch. So if like this was his version too, it just seems like Benji put it out there that trade is cursed. I think Bogey, he's just missing a lot of looks, to be honest. That has been, important to like why they brought him here was to do this. And from what I could tell, it's not even necessarily how he's being used. Like they're giving him some on ball duties and some creation duties. And they're giving him some spot up looks and some ghost screens and some pin downs. And it's like, you're just missing shots, dude. So, you hope it does seem somewhat mental. And I, to your point, I do think he's going to get a chance to figure it out before Randall gets back. Because that's really the only one that I'm paying attention to. Mitch coming back, I don't think affects him in any way. I think Randall comes back. Then the Knicks have another 4, which might mean Bogey, his days are numbered. So, we'll see what happens. I think we got at least 1 or 2 more Bogey games in us in that, like the Philly game coming out the break where we went 6 of 6 and 3. That was important. The game against the Cavs where Brunson went down. He hit a ton of shots in that game. That was important. If we can get 2 more out of him, maybe that's what the trade was for. So that way we get a couple of games going into the regular season, and then come playoff time, we'll see what happens. Part of the reason why I'm feeling more confident in the rest of the Knicks is Deuce McBride. And I want to highlight what he did tonight. The Knicks were in a stretch in that second quarter where Brunson was sitting, and like John has done a good job. The newsletter this week, and Fred Katz even on his pod has talked about how the Knicks, without Jaylen Brunson on the floor, their offense has just fallen off a cliff. And that's the stretch that they really took off in this game, was that second quarter with Deuce McBride on the floor. They kept, as I said, Deuce stayed on the floor when Burks went out, stayed on the floor when Bogey went out, and largely stayed on the floor for the important minutes of the game. So just shout out to, if you're missing the young Knicks, that we drafted. We have another one that we got in the second round that we've turned into a rotation player. 22 minutes for Burks, for McBride tonight. 3 of 6 from the field, 6 points and a plus 13, as well as 3 rebounds and a steal. Any other thoughts before we head to the super chat, Mensa?
Yeah. If you told me on President's Day, as recently as President's Day, that excuse me, if you told me that Precious Achiuwa and Deuce McBride would be ahead of Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks in the rotation, I would have thought you were either crazy or Tom Tibido was on his usual Tom Tibido bullshit. But they're ahead of them in the rotation, and it is a reason for us to praise Tom Tibido, because these are two guys who I'm sure before the season nobody thought were like NBA rotation players, were like fringe. Like, of course, you had like people who like super niche Knicks fans who thought Deuce McBride had it in them, and Precious Achiuwa fans and that kind of stuff. They've come to this season they've been on the New York Knicks, and because of the Tibbs ethos and the Tibbs system, he's able to get what these guys do well, which is defend, and they're able to hit enough shots. Deuce McBride hitting a lot of shots this season, able to hit enough shots to stay on court and be valuable contributors. Precious Achiuwa in 24 minutes gives you 4.7 rebounds and 2 assists, and gives you 2 steals, right? Plus minus of a -5, so that's not great, but you're getting good value from a player who was considered a throw-in into the OG Anunoby trade, and then Deuce McBride just stepping up. He was what, the 5th, the 6th guard on the team to start. We had so many guys ahead of him, and now again, this is a guy who is projected to play very meaningful playoff minutes for us, and nobody in Knicks land seems to be worried about that. Credit to Tom Tibido and his staff for developing these guys. Precious Achiuwa on the fly, because when he got here, boy, oh boy, it was not looking great. And Deuce McBride just becoming a valuable piece for the New York Knicks. Yeah, not too happy about the Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks stuff, but what we have in Precious Achiuwa and Miles McBride eases that up a little bit, and that's 100% credit to Tom Tibido. So I just wanted to close things out by giving Tom Tibido his flowers. He's kept this team above water, losing 60% of his opening day starting lineup for a bit of the season, and now the team is getting healthier, and you're starting to see, okay, we're catching up to other guys in the Eastern Conference, and we're getting healthy at the right time. And there would not be a right time to get healthy if Tom Tibido did not do an outstanding job coaching these guys this year.
Well said. All right, quick standings check, and then we'll head to the super chats. So in the NBA standings, the Knicks remain at the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. Philadelphia lost tonight to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks sit at 3.5 games ahead of the Knicks for the 2 seed. The Cavs just a half game behind the Bucks, so 3 ahead of the Knicks for the 3 seed. Orlando won last night, so the Knicks gain a half game and are a full game ahead of the Orlando Magic. And the Miami Heat, who have lost 4 games in a row, sit 3 games behind the Knicks in 8th. I'm okay with all of this at the moment. I would sign up right now for a 4-5 against Orlando.